Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with another Bible study. Today we are getting back into the book of Daniel. But if you're new here and unfamiliar with what is going on, I hold some unconventional beliefs, and it is highly recommended you begin at the beginning because I would hate to step on your toes, and it is easy to get lost in the weeds. For those of you who have been hanging around, we are in Daniel 6 because we left off in Daniel 5. And this is one of those instances where they break up the timeline for us because reasons. We're jumping ahead, right? We left off in 5 with the fall of the Babylonian Empire, and that's where we should leave the Babylonian Empire. But that's not what happens because now we get the Persians, right? This is the Persia and Mede have taken over. And then in the next chapter, we go back to Babylon. Not only back to Babylon, but we go back before chapter 5. So really, chapter 7 should be chapter 4. That's intentional, and we'll discuss. Let's dive into the text. Now, it pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, and over them 3 administrators, including Daniel, to whom these satraps were accountable, so that the king would not suffer loss. Soon, by his extraordinary spirit, Daniel distinguished himself among the administrators and satraps. So the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Thus, the administrators and satraps sought a charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or corruption, because he was trustworthy, and no negligence or corruption was found in him. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any charge against this Daniel, unless we find something against him concerning the law of his God." So the administrators and satraps went together to the king and said, "O King Darius, may you live forever. All the royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce a decree that for 30 days anyone who petitions any god or any man except you, O king, will be thrown into a den of lions. Therefore, O king, establish the decree and sign the document so that it cannot be changed, in accordance with the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repealed." Therefore, King Darius signed the written decree. Now, when Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went into his house, where the windows of his upper room opened towards Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he got down on his knees, prayed, and gave thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group, and found Daniel petitioning and imploring his God. So they approached the king and asked about his royal decree. "Did you not sign a decree that for 30 days any man who petitions any god or man except you, O king, will be thrown into the den of lions?" And the king replied, "According to the law of the Medes and the Persians, the order stands, it cannot be repealed." And then they told the king, "Daniel, one of the exiles from Judah, shows no regard for you, O king, or for the decree that you have signed. He still makes his petition 3 times a day." As soon as the king heard this, he was deeply distressed and set his mind on delivering Daniel, and he labored until sundown to rescue him. Then the men approached the king together and said to him, "Remember, O king, that by the law of the Medes and the Persians no decree or ordinance established by the king can be changed." So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the den of lions. And the king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you." A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, so that nothing concerning Daniel could be changed. And then the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting. No entertainment was brought before him, and sleep fled from him. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the den of lions. When he reached the den, he cried out in a voice of anguish, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?" And then Daniel replied, "O king, may you live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, for I was found innocent in his sight, and I have done no wrong against you, O king." The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted out of the den, no wounds whatsoever were found on him, because he had trusted in his God. At the command of his king, The men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought down and thrown into the den of lions, they and their children and wives. And before they had reached the bottom of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to the people of every nation and language throughout the land, "May your prosperity abound. I hereby decree that in every part of my kingdom men are to tremble in fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and his dominion will never end. He delivers and rescues. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. For he has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions." So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus, the Persian. Now, you probably have heard 1,000 different sermons on Daniel. If you grew up in the church, you've heard the courage of Daniel, the wisdom of Daniel, and all of that. So I'm not really going to rehash a whole lot of this. I believe that it is entirely possible that if you were in any way put into danger, God can save you from it. I believe that fully and completely. It's not something that you should count on. Right? I wouldn't go jumping into a den of lying saying, "Hey God, do for me what you did for Daniel." That would not be intelligent. But it is possible that if you are persecuted, he is going to protect you. I've got a hard truth for y'all, and this is for those of you who believe in the rapture. Sometimes that protection comes with the head coming off. We'll deal with that when we get to Revelation. So I don't have a whole lot to add to that story. It's a great one. You should absolutely act in complete faith, and God will protect you. In the first year of his reign of Belshazzar over Babylon. This is why I say this should be chapter 4. This is after Nebuchadnezzar. This is after he comes back from his thing. This is Nebuchadnezzar's son taking the throne in the first year of his reign. Why is this after? Why is this placed after Darius has taken Babylon from Belshazzar? Why is this placed so far back in the book? Why is it separated so far from Nebuchadnezzar's vision? Because it ties in, right? People tie it in already. They already make the leap. Here's the leap. This is the current, fairly common way of looking at it, right? The statue is the head of gold, the breast of arms in silver, the belly of thighs of brass, and the legs of iron. The feet are iron and miry clay. They're mixed together. And then we're going to get into these real quick, but this is the different interpretations for the different kingdoms, right? They're already tied together. People already assume they're tied together. Why separate them? Because people want to look at these with their own little spin on it. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to read it and see what it says, and it does indeed tie into the statute very directly. In the first year of the reign of Belshazzar over Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and visions passed through his mind as he lay on his bed. He wrote down the dream, and this is the summary of his account. Daniel declared, "In my vision in the night I looked, and suddenly the four winds of heaven were churning up the great sea. Then 4 great beasts came up out of the sea, each one different from the others. The first beast was like a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. I watched until its wings were torn off, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and given the mind of a man. Suddenly, another beast appeared, which looked like a bear. It was raised up on one of its sides, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And so it was told, 'Get up and gorge yourself on flesh.' Next, as I watched, another beast appeared. It was like a leopard, and on its back it had 4 wings, like those of a bird. And the beast also had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule. After this, I watched in my vision in the night, and suddenly a 4th beast appeared. It was terrifying, dreadful, and extremely strong, with large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed. Then it trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the beasts before it, and it had 10 horns. While I was contemplating the horns, suddenly another horn, a little one, came up from among them. and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like those of a man, and a mouth that spoke words of arrogance. As I continued to watch, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. A river of fire was flowing, coming out of its presence. Thousands upon thousands attended him, and myriads upon myriads stood before him. The court was convened, and the books were opened. Then I kept watch because of the arrogant words the horn was speaking. As I continued to watch, the beast was slain, and its body was destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. As for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was removed, but they were granted an extension of life for a season and a time. In my vision in the night, I continued to watch, and I saw one like the Son of Man. Coming with the clouds of heaven, he approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. And he was given dominion, glory, and kingship, that the people of every nation and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit, and the visions in my mind alarmed me. I approached one of those who were standing there, and I asked him the true meaning of all this. So he told me the interpretation of these things. These 4 great beasts are 4 kings who will arise from the earth. But the saints of the Most High will receive the kingdom and possess it forever. Yes, forever and ever. And then I wanted to know the true meaning of the 4th beast, which was different from all the others, extremely terrifying, devouring and crushing with iron teeth and bronze claws, and then trampling underfoot whatever was left. I also wanted to know about the 10 horns on its head and the other horn that came up, before which 3 of them fell. The horn whose appearance was more imposing than the others, with eyes, and with a mouth that spoke words of arrogance. As I watched, this horn was waging war against the saints and prevailing against them, until the Ancient of Days arrived and announced judgment in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for them to possess the kingdom. This is what he said. The 4th beast is a 4th kingdom that will appear on the earth, different from all the other kingdoms, and it will devour the whole earth, trample it down and crush it. And the 10 horns, or 10 kings, who will rise from this kingdom. After them, another king, different from the earlier ones, will rise and subdue the 3 kings. He will speak out against the Most High and oppress the saints of the Most High, intending to change the appointed times and laws. The saints will be given into his hand for a time, and times, and half a time. But the court will convene, and his dominion will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, dominion, and greatness of the kingdoms under all of heaven will be given to the people. The saints of the Most High, his kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will serve and obey him. Thus ends the matter, for as for me, Daniel, my thoughts troubled me greatly, and my face turned pale, but I kept the matter to myself. All right, so here's the part where I'm going to run people off, right? I believe this is a vision about Babylon. Big surprise. He's in Babylon. He has been taken captive into Babylon. He has been living in Babylon for a while now. He is as much Babylonian as he is Israeli, right? Take from that what you want. I don't care. He is diligently serving the king. He has been diligently serving the king all the time, up to the point where he is honest to the king about real things at fear of his life. Like he could be thrown into a lion's den for speaking his truth and for standing in reality, right? For him, God is reality, and he is standing in it firmly with no wavering whatsoever. I'm not even going to attempt to hide what I am doing, right? So he knows what he's dealing with. he's he's telling us in no uncertain terms what's coming up. In the first year of Belshazzar in Babylon, Daniel has a dream, and the visions pass through his mind. Now, this is broken up from the other so that there would be some disassociation, even though there really wasn't. I believe that this is close to true, right? But Babylon is the head of gold. We're told that directly. But I also believe it is the lion with the wings because it spread far and wide, swiftly. It did. That's what the wings signify, rapid expansion. Now, when Media-Persia takes over Babylon, there's no real expansion, right? It doesn't really do that. But I believe that the three ribs, like we talked about this yesterday in the first book of Daniel, but I believe that this is dealing with the three different empires that were dealing directly with the Medes and the Persians, and that's going to be right here in the Achaemenid dynasty. Now, you have the Parthians, which are the ones that take over now. They're the ones that are doing this now. And then later, after the breakup of the Greeks, Alexander comes in and he defeats them in Babylon, but he never really takes possession. He doesn't really establish his dominion, right? But the Persian, or one of the four generals that take over the area, Seleucid, does. He does establish his concern, but he's also part of the Persian dynasties. He is related to these people. And then after him comes the Sasanian Empire, which takes over after the fall of them. And they rule, right? Now, this is Darius the First. Can y'all see that? Let me make sure y'all can see that. You can just barely make it out, and I'm not going to try and move the thing, but on the wiki for the Achaemenid Empire, you can see a coin for Darius the First right here, dating back to the Parthian Empire. This is when they took over from Babylon. I believe that the three ribs are these three particular empires going forward. And then the next ones that come in is the Islamists, right? When Muhammad finished, we got the Rashidun Caliphate. And they came in and they rapidly expanded. They came in with four wings. There were four people, right? We had Ali, or Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. They were the cause of almost the entire expansion of the caliphate. All this territory that you see that they got, all of this here, almost all of it came from these four men, these four wings. And after these four wings, we had four distinct caliphates from four areas, including the Rashidun, right? The Rashidun begins one, and then we had the Umayyad. They had possession of Babylon. Then we had the Abbasid. They had possession of Babylon. And then we had the Ottoman Empire. And I had scrolled down here for a reason, because this is where they lost, right? And I was trying to pull that up, but they had control of Babylon as well. Now, people didn't really live there by this point. It was a deserted area. It is desolate. It is laid waste. There is no peoples in the immediate area in significant numbers. There's always farmers and nomads and stuff, but no real civilization in the area anymore, so it's not as important as it was. It is lost to antiquity. But they still had control of the area. And they lost it. They lost control of the area at the Armistice of Mudros, with the disintegration of the Ottoman Caliphate, to the Allied forces at the end of World War I. That is, in my estimation, the beast, right? The fourth beast. It is dreadful and exceedingly strong. It has large iron teeth. Planes are iron. Tanks are iron. Now it's steel, yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like ships, iron. Bullets, lead, but close enough. Like, there's a reason why these large iron teeth, like, you can't recognize what you can't recognize. You don't know what this is. It looks kind of like a sword, but it's getting me from like a bow. Like, you don't know what that is. It's a large iron tooth. symbology. You can only interpret prophecy in the terms of what you know. I believe that this is dealing with the Allied forces, that this beast, this fourth beast that tramples and subdues the world, is the same one we are currently dealing with now, right? Now, we had another brief blip in the middle of it, right? After the Ottomans fall, there are several independent places established, and a lot of protectorates are established. And I think that that is the iron and the miry clay, right? It is a mixture of them. It is the people coming together but never really mixing. That is definitely part of this too. Like, all of these things to me make me think that Daniel is directly prophesying about the opposite side of what you would think, right? If you're looking at Revelation and you're expecting this battle with one side and the other, you're expecting Christ and the Antichrist, right? Well, this would be Daniel dealing with the Antichrist side of things. We're not dealing with the coming of the, like it says, like when we get into this, right? This is a whole different thing. This is talking about God. When it talks about the Ancient of Days taking his seat, that's him talking about God. It is explained like we have seen God explained before. So this is not talking about these beasts. The same is right here. I saw one like the Son of Man. Well, we have had the Son of Man explained. Who was the Son of Man? Ezekiel. All the way through the book. Son of Man, Son of Man, Son of Man, Son of Man. Do you think that that was just a coincidence? Do you think that that was just random? That the entirety of the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel himself is called the Son of Man? We have one like the Son of Man. Now, what does that mean? You'll have to go back to Ezekiel and find out. But this is dealing with end times. It's not dealing with current times, prophet time, nor is it dealing with current times, Jesus time. This is an end times prophecy. Everybody agrees with that, right? The Son of Man, though, is someone like Ezekiel. Not like God, but like Ezekiel. Or even better, it could be like one of these people from heaven. Because as we get down here, there is a whole word study that you should probably do. This is 7? Yeah, we're in 7. So 25, right? This is where I looked it up, but it happened before. He will speak out against the Most High and oppress the saints of the Most High. And I was like, all right, well, let's pop that out. Let's look at it. It's Daniel 7:25. And you know what? It doesn't say saints in the New International Version. Well, different translations do different things. Why do they do that? Let's pop out the Hebrew and see. Well, what do you know? It turns out that it's not saints. It's holy ones. And you could make the argument that it's the same and not, but it's the same type of holy one that is particularly talking about the watchers and the angels. Like in the book of Daniel, like in the same book, it changes from the holy ones, the angelic orders coming down from the holy ones, into all of a sudden the saints are people. Well, that's not the same. That's not the same at all. But it still fits if you put the Holy One in front of the saints, right? If you go back to here instead, he will speak out against the Most High and oppress the holy ones of the Most High, the angels of the Most High, the watchers of the Most High, which is what it says, intending to change the appointed times and laws. Now, I'm gonna get way out here now. Y'all ready for this? What if these watchers, these angelic on high beings, are the Jewish form or the Babylonian form of the zodiac? Does that step on enough toes for y'all? We'll get into some more of that as we go along, but it is entirely possible that that is what's coming. The heavens will be shaken. The earth will shake and wobble like a drunkard. The skies will roll back and the stars will fall from the sky. Okay. I wanted to know the meaning of the fourth beast, and I asked. It was devouring and crushing with iron teeth and bronze claws. That is a mixture of two metals. Right? Those metals don't really go together that well. You have to really work at it. And so, if we get back into here, though, this bronze and brass. I know the technical differences, most people don't, and so they're a little bit interchangeable. But it goes bronze and iron, right? These two mixed together somehow. They're getting along, but they never really get along. They're kind of weak because they're part iron and part clay. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. I'm just scratching the surface on this. Now, the horns is a whole different thing because everywhere else that these horns, remember when we were going through and it was talking about when you hear the sound of the horn and the zither and the flute, and we had that like 15 times? The same word. This horn right here is the same word for the musical instrument. Now, I understand that they use the horns as musical instruments, but there's no differentiation in it. It is not particular to an animal, so keep that in mind. It could be sound. I'm not saying it is. These 10 horns are 10 kings, right? That could be 10 different languages. That could be 10 different regions. That could be kingdoms, and kings are kind of interchangeable. When it talks about the 4 kings, it is not talking about a particular king as much as a particular kingdom. The kingdom of Babylon as opposed to the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar, or the kingdom of the Medes Persians as opposed to the kingdom of Darius, because they last a good while, and they are the titular head for a while, but the dynasty and the empire are the important part. They are the kingdoms. The 4 into 1, right? The third beast, that's the same kingdom. They believe in the same thing. They are keeping the same law. They just have a different head. It moved around kind of geographically, like almost like the points on a compass. It's interesting. But when the wings get dispersed to the 4 corners, right? It goes north, south, east, and west. Wow, what happened to the kingdom? He went north, south, east, and west, and then the wings dispersed, and you got the heads. It's really crazy how that works. Oh, I think that's about all we needed to do here, right? This last part, the 4th beast, the 4th kingdom will appear. I think we have the beast, right? Not necessarily the beast as described in Revelation, but the beast as described here. It's different from all other kingdoms. This experimenting freedom that we particularly have over here, but that has spread to various other places, sometimes through oppression, right? Sometimes they have devoured and crushed. That is an absolute truth of the history of this nation. And if you don't like that, you need to study history. There is a very good fit for the Allies, both after World War I and after World War II, with the various organizations that they have for this 4th beast. It's not, in my estimation, the Church of Rome at all. I don't believe that Rome has as big of a part to play as many people give it. And so I think that what we have been dealing with so far is, well, I've explained it, right? But this is going to come later, right? 26, this is going to come later. This has not happened yet. There is no establishment of sovereignty on the earth of God as of yet. I would be happy with it. I would be the first one in line to be like, all right, God, I'm here for you. I do with me what you will. That's who I am. But it hasn't happened yet, not on a global scale. So this is the future. Now here's another vision. Let's dive into this. Where are we at on time? I might be done. Oh no, we good. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, so this should have been chapter 5, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, subsequent to the one that had appeared to me earlier. And in the vision I saw myself in the citadel of Susa, in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision that I was beside the Ulai Canal. Did I? I did not. I'm going to pull up real quick Google Earths. And we are going to look about where Elam is, just because we have not touched that yet. Alright, so what we have here is Iraq, and this is Iran. Well, Elam is this area of the Persian Gulf right here. It is the refuge of Zoroastrianism in the area. That and over into India. If you're unfamiliar with Zoroastrianism, you should definitely check that out. They believed in a god too. Um, and so that is where we're talking about in Elam. It is on the east side of the Persian Gulf, right? Most of what we deal with is on the west side. Babylon itself is right here, uh, just to the north and to the west of the Persian Gulf. All right, we did geography. In the province of Elam. So he wasn't in Babylon, he was in Elam. And I saw in the vision that I was beside the Ulai Canal. I don't know where that is, I'm not bothering to look it up. And then I lifted up my eyes, and I saw a ram with two horns standing beside the canal. And the horns were long, but one was longer than the other, and the longer one grew up later. I saw the ram charging towards the west and north and to the south. No animal could stand against him, and there was no deliverance from his power. He did as he pleased, and became great. As I was contemplating all this, suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between his eyes came out of the west, crossing the surface of the entire earth without touching the ground. He came towards the two-horned ram, as I had seen standing beside the canal, and rushed at him with furious power. I saw him approach the ram in a rage against him, and he struck the ram and shattered his two horns. The ram was powerless to stand against him, and the goat threw him to the ground and trampled him, and no one could deliver the ram from his power. Thus the goat became very great. But at the height of his power, his lord's horn was broken off, and four prominent horns came up in its place, pointing towards the four winds of heaven. From one of these horns a little horn emerged, and grew extensively towards the south, and the east, and towards the beautiful land. It grew as high as the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host, and some of the stars to the earth, and trampled them. It magnified itself, even to the prince of the host. It removed his daily sacrifice, and overthrew the place of his sanctuary. And in the rebellion, the host and the daily sacrifice were given over to the horn, and it flung truth to the ground, and prospered in whatever it did. And then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, How long until the fulfillment of the vision of the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that causes desolation, and the surrender of the sanctuary and of the host to be trampled? And he said to me, It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings. Then the sanctuary will be properly restored. While I, Daniel, was watching the vision and trying to understand it, there stood before me one having the appearance of a man. And I heard the voice of a man calling from between the banks of the Ulai, Gabriel, explain the vision to this man. And as he came near to where I stood, I was terrified and fell face down. Son of man, he said to me, understand that the vision concerns the time of the end. While he was speaking with me, I fell into a deep sleep, with my face to the ground. Then he touched me, helped me to my feet, and said, Behold, I will make known to you what will happen in the latter time of wrath, because it concerns the appointed time of the end. The two-horned ram you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. The shaggy goat represents the king of Greece, and the large horn between his eyes is the first king. The four horns that replace the broken one represent the four kingdoms that will arise from that nation, but will not have the same power. In the latter part of the reign, when the rebellion has reached its full measure, an insolent king, skilled in intrigue, will come to the throne. His power will be great, but it will not be his own. He will cause terrible destruction, and succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy the mighty men along with the holy people. Through his craft and by his hand, he will cause deceit to prosper, and in his own mind he will make himself great. In a time of peace, he will destroy many, and he will even stand against the prince of princes. Yet he will be broken off, not by human hands. The vision of the evening and the morning has been spoken as true. Now you must seal up the vision, for it concerns the distant future. I, Daniel was exhausted and lay ill for days. Then I got up and went about the king's business. I was confounded by the vision, and it was beyond understanding. So, we are dealing with roughly, 171? That's what we're dating here. So about 200 BC is roughly the time frame we're dealing with. I'm just curious because we got a number here. 2,300. And from that point in time, we were about, 200, we're 2024 plus 200 would be 2,224. And then that's just a rough guesstimate, right? That's not exact or precise, but that would be pretty close to now if we were talking about a literal interpretation of this. And actually, come to think of it, it would be a little bit before that because we were still in the time of Babylon, right? We're in the third year of the reign of Belshazzar, and it's before he is taken over by. So it's very possible, and this is highly conspiratorial, right? It is very possible that this 2,300 evenings and mornings, take that for a year, right? A day is as a year, and a year is as a day. If this is that, and I am absolutely reading that into this, then that would time us out to about right now. Like, not 100 years ago when we're talking about with the end of World War One, but what's 100 years on the time scale? But for this to come to fullness, right? How long until the fulfillment of the vision of the daily sacrifice, the rebellion, and the surrender? 2,300 evenings and mornings. That could be something completely different. Probably is. Let's go back to the ram and the goat real quick because we looked at them, and let's go to the interpretation, right? The two-horned ram you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia, and the shaggy goat represents the king of Greece, and a large horn between his eyes is the first king. Now, the king of Greece, Alexander, does indeed reach Babylon. He does, and that's pretty much the end of his campaign, though. That he dies very shortly after that, and the kingdom falls apart. It's taken apart by 4 different people, and one of them forms the Seleucid dynasty, right? The Seleucid dynasty is who takes over from the Medes and the Persians. That is, well, no, this is the Medes and the Persians. That's here. Wait, no. The Seleucids is part of here. The Seleucids and the Sasanians are both here, yeah. The Seleucids are the later part of the Persian dynasty. This is 150 BC as opposed to 171. Wait, no, that ain't right. 3rd century BC. Like, no, that ain't nearly right. The Persians will rule for a very long time. But in the 3rd century is when Alexander comes down and actually takes Babylon. And then the breaking apart of the empire. Let's just... did I not have the Seleucid Empire pulled up? I did not. Let's do it. That'll work right there. And we're just going to go to the wiki, of course. Just to pull up the map. This is the Seleucid Empire, right? Now, Athens broke apart. You got Macedonia, you got a couple Cappadocia, but the Seleucid part is what one of the generals founded and kept control of Babylon. You can see Babylon right here in the middle. I can write now. Pull it over. The extent of Seleucia's realm in 312. And so I think that this is talking about that, right? Now, the shaggy goat represents the king of Greece, the large horn between his eyes. The 4 horns that replaced the broken one, which was the king, was the 4 kingdoms that will arise from the nations, beginning with this, you have the Seleucids, the Parthians, well, the Parthians are already done. The Sassanians are already done. This is the Seleucids. And then from the Seleucids, you get the Caliphate, which has the four heads. So, yes. Okay. From the Seleucid dynasty, the power assumption comes to the Caliphates, right? Babylon's control. That's where I'm focused on, not on Israel for this particular set of prophecies. In the latter part of their reign, when the rebellion has reached its full measure, an insolent king, skilled in intrigue, will come to the throne. I'm not well versed enough in history to know what that is. It may not have happened yet. It may have, and I don't know about it. He will cause terrible destruction and succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy the mighty men and the holy people. Now, again, this holy people references angels. Through his craft and by his hand, he will cause deceit to prosper, and in his own mind, he will make himself great. In a time of peace, he will destroy many, and he will stand even against the prince of princes. Yet he will be broken off, but not by human hands. This is more than likely something that we don't know the interpretation of. I'm not really even going to try to read into that more than what it says. In the latter part of the reign of the four horns, right, is how I'm reading that. That would be the end of the Ottoman Empire, the latter part of the reign. An insolent king, skilled in intrigue, will come to the throne. I don't understand that part. So that may not be here yet, but the four horns that have replaced in the four kingdoms, in my estimation, have been replaced, right? They have. There have been the Rashidun, the Umayyad, the Abbasid, and the Ottomans. That's the four horns, I think, my estimation. Now, this great beast from the people, that's a whole different thing. Right? We've already talked about that. That's the Allied forces and the dispersed churches, the various ones. I think I've hammered that enough. I don't know if I missed anything or not. You know who I am, but I think I've explained it enough. If you have questions, hit me down below. We're going to do 9 and wrap it up because 10 starts a whole new thing. Now we are back to Darius. This is the first year of Darius, son of Xerxes, a Mede by descent, who was made ruler of the kingdom of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood from the sacred books, according to the word of the Lord, to Jeremiah the prophet, that the desolation of Jerusalem would last 70 years. So I turned my attention to the Lord God to seek him by prayer and petition, with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. And I prayed to the Lord my God and confessed, O Lord, the great and awesome God, who keeps his covenant of loving devotion. To those who love him and keep his commandments, we have sinned and done wrong. We have acted wickedly and rebelled. We have turned away from your commandments and ordinances. We have not listened to your servants the prophets, who spoke in your name to our kings, leaders, and fathers, and to all the people of the land. To you, O Lord, belongs righteousness. But this day we are covered with shame. The men of Judah, the people of Jerusalem, and all Israel near and far, and all the countries to which you have driven us because of our unfaithfulness to you. O Lord, we are covered with shame, our kings, our leaders, and our fathers, because we have sinned against you. To the Lord our God belong compassion and forgiveness, even though we have rebelled against him, and have not obeyed the voice of the Lord our God, to walk in his laws, which he set before us through his servants the prophets. All Israel has transgressed your law and turned away, refusing to obey your voice. So the oath and the curse written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, has been poured out on us, because we sinned against you. You have carried out the words spoken against us and against our rulers by bringing upon us a great disaster. For under all of heaven, nothing has ever been done like what has been done to Jerusalem. Just as it is written in the law of Moses, all this disaster has come upon us. Yet we have not sought the favor of the Lord our God by turning away from our iniquities and giving attention to your truth. Therefore, the Lord has kept the calamity in store and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all he does, yet we have not obeyed his voice. Now, O Lord our God, who brought our people out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and who made for yourselves a name renowned to this day, we have sinned. We have acted wickedly. O Lord, in keeping with all your righteous acts, I pray that your anger and wrath may turn away from your city Jerusalem, your holy mountain. For because of our sins and the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people are a reproach to all around us. Now, our God, hear the prayers and petitions of your servant. For your sake, O Lord, cause your face to shine upon your desolate sanctuary. Incline your ear, O my God, and hear. Open your eyes and see the desolation of the city that bears your name. For we are not presenting our petitions before you because of our righteous acts, but because of your great compassion. O Lord, listen. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hear and act. For your sake, O my God, do not delay, because your city and your people bear your name. And while I was speaking, praying, and confessing my sin and that of my people Israel, and presenting my petition before the Lord my God concerning his holy mountain, while I was still praying, Gabriel, the man I had seen in the earlier vision, came to me in swift light, about the time of the evening sacrifice. He instructed me and spoke to me, saying, O Daniel, I have come now to give you insight and understanding. At the beginning of your petitions, an answer went out, and I have come to tell you, for you are highly precious. So, consider the message and understand the vision. 70 weeks are decreed for your people in your holy city to stop their transgression, to put an end to sin, to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, to anoint the most holy place. Know and understand this, from the issuance of the decree to restore and build Jerusalem until the Messiah, the Prince, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, but in times of distress. Then, after 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing. Then the people of the Prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end will come like a flood, and until the end there will be war. Desolations have been decreed, and he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week he will put an end to the sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of the temple will come the abomination, which comes to desolation, until the decreed destruction is poured out upon him. Now, the first part of this is simply a cry to God, right? Lord, please restore us to our place. That is not untypical for what we have seen, but this last part, a lot of people get tied up in this, right? 70 weeks are decreed for your people. Boy, the timing of 70 weeks is hotly debated, right? Twice in verse 25 and once in verse 26. So that's right here. 62 weeks, 70 weeks, 62 and 7. So that's 69 weeks. 70 weeks are decreed for your people in holy to stop their transgression. That's 70 years. Their weeks were years here because this was what was given to them to stop. Well, maybe not. This could be from here going forward, right? Consider the message and understand the vision. 70 weeks are decreed for your people and your holy city to stop their transgression. So that's from when you go back. To put an end to sin, to make atonement for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness. To seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy place. To seal up the vision and the prophecy. That's an interesting term right there. Know and understand this, from the issuance of the decree to restore and rebuild until the Messiah, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. So that is 69 weeks. Now you can read that as years, right? 70 years. That could definitely be the 70 years in exile. It could be that their time in exile was for them to do that, or it could be that the 70 years is from the time you take possession going forward. You have 70 years to clean up your act, or else. Right? From the issuance of the decree until Messiah, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's 69 weeks. That's 1 week shy of 70. And it will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, but in times of distress. Now, this could be very well now, and it could be very well then, because they do go back to Israel. They do go back to Jerusalem. They do go back and rebuild, but it's under the leadership of the Achaemenid Empire. Right? The Persians rule them. They are titularly the head, but in reality, they are subservient to the Medes and the Persians. And so that's distress. That could definitely count as distress. And they did rebuild the city. They did do that. The trench, I'm not sure on. That may be some obscure piece in the history that I just did not get back to in this read through. But then, after the 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing. Consecrated person. That does not necessarily have to be, I'm pretty sure, like, it's an anointed one, but David was anointed, Solomon was anointed, all the kings were anointed, all the priests were anointed, so it does not necessarily have to be a divine one, right? They are looking for a singular actor, for one person to come and save them in the manner that David did, in the manner that Joshua did, in the manner that Moses did. That's the same type of salvation that they're looking for, someone to come and unify their nation. You can look for something different in that, but that is what the Israelis were looking for. Again, we would have to get into breaking down the timing, right? So that would be 140 years, would put it pretty close to 0 if you're adding the 70 onto after they go back. But if you are saying that their 70 years in exile are for the people in the holy city to stop doing the bad things, which definitely can be taken from this, then that's only 70 years and not even close to the 0 that would require to get to Jesus. So I personally don't believe that they are talking about Jesus in this. Right? Then the people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The city and the sanctuary were destroyed by the Romans, right? And you can definitely make the argument that the Romans evolved into the allies, which dispersed the caliphates. I'm not sure if the caliphates ever did anything of that nature in Jerusalem, right? This part's talking about Jerusalem. All the rest of it's been Babylon, but this is talking about Jerusalem. And so, the other part that I find particularly of note is on the wing of the temple will come the abomination that causes desolation. Desolation is destruction, but it's more of a complete terrifying in destruction. So my interpretation of this, which I have given in other places, but I'm definitely going to put here, is the wing is, if you're looking at the top, right, it's, you have the wing that comes out, but this is dealing specifically with the roof. That's the way the wording comes out in the word study. It's dealing with the roof of the wing. And this is saying that on the wing of the temple, I think the abomination that causes desolation is going to be this sign in the sky that's going to make everybody terrified, right? Everybody across the entire place is going to be like, that doesn't belong there. It's an abomination to heaven, the holy place, and it's terrifying. That's what I believe is going to happen. I've given plenty of reason for that. We will get more into that as we get into Revelation. That's where we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I do not claim to be the see-all, end-all, be-all, know-all of anything. I'm giving you what I honestly interpret this to be. I am fully willing to accept that I could be wrong. It's prophecy. Everybody could be wrong. Until it is actually filled, we don't know. I don't see any evidence here that makes it have to be Jesus is coming, right? That's the important part that I'm trying to go through Daniel on, because there's a lot of pointing and pushing and reading with them glasses on that make you see that, and I don't see that in this. That's not what we're looking for here. If you have any questions, comments, want to disagree and argue respectfully, leave it in the boxes down below. I am here for that, as long as it's respectful, and you've watched the playlist and they're not bringing me an argument that I've already well discussed, then okay, let's talk about it. I am willing to learn. I know that I tend to step on toes in these. I don't try to. I don't apologize for it. I am just reading the book as the book is written, as I am being told to do. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you were here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pit State. Peace.